Good evening and welcome to the Calaveras Council of Government, April 2nd, 2025, regular board meeting. If you could please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will move on to consent agenda. We have a number of items on the consent agenda. They're expected to be routine. Is there any board member that wishes to pull a consent agenda? Seeing none, is there any public? Bringing it back to the board, is there a motion to approve the consent?
So moved.
There's a second. Sorry, there's a first, is there a second? Scott, so moved by Tim, second by Scott, all in favor? Aye. So 601.
If you guys remember
Yeah.
to leave your mics on tonight, I didn't either get the first or the second, it's not been recorded.
Okay.
Aye.
Thank you.
Second.
So moved.
Are we good?
Yes.
Okay. Next, we'll move on to public comment. Comments shall be limited to items that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council and not on the posted agenda. Is there any public comment? Seeing none in the room, we'll move it to online. None online. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the Caltrans report. LaGloria. Or is there someone online for Oh, you good? Hey. How are you this evening? I was going to say this
I'm
morning,
fine,
but
I'm
we're in
fine.
the evening.
Drive here was just beautiful, such a treat. Always good to be here with my friends. Good evening, I'm Gregoria Ponce, Caltrans District 10, Acting Planning Deputy. I do have a few items. I did want to open by sharing that due to the latest storm, Caltrans is delayed in working on opening the passes, but we are actively working on those to move towards opening those.
Okay.
I did have a few items. First is the CTC allocation of approximately $1 billion for technology upgrades, storm resiliency, and safety improvements across the state as part of the March allocation. Looking at the networks of street and highways, improvements included bike lane, sidewalk, transit facilities, Fix It First, and many of these were part of the Infrastructure and Investment Jobs Act, as well as Senate Bill 1 funding. And speaking of funding for opportunities, the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection has issued a call for applications for addressing wood product infrastructure to promote healthy, resilient forest. Forest work, timber harvesting, and workforce development for those activities. Available funding is approximately $5 million with a closing date of April 25th. And again, that's the California Department of Forestry. California Energy Commission has funding opportunity under its charging interoperability, and it invests in projects that advance and prepare for widespread vehicle grid integration. Funding there is approximately $4 million with the closing of June 4th, 2025. In terms of the regional transportation plan, I did see that this evening. Very excited to see that work moving forward. We look forward to continuing in the co-development of that. In terms of the overall work plan, we look forward to receiving deliverables and continuing to process invoices. And thank you to the team so much. All of the deliverables look great. Very appreciated. Other than that, I have no other items. If anyone has any questions for me.
Does anyone have any questions for? Okay.
Maybe our new member has a question, so.
Anytime. Just beautiful.
Sorry, Sue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 6. Item number 6, which is the city and county report, we do those quarterly, but we keep them standing on the agenda should there be any updates that the city or county need to make. So at this time, are there any additional updates from either city or county that was not provided from the last meeting? Okay, we'll move on. Item number 7, which is the unmet transit need public hearing. So, I will open the public hearing and turn it over to the executive director. Or Erin, are you doing it, Erin?
I'll take it.
Okay. Move it over to Erin. Okay.
Every year, because of TDA legislation, we're required to hold an unmet transit needs hearing to receive any comments or issues with transportation in the county. We do collect unmet transit needs throughout the year. We have a form that's available on all the buses, online. People can call in, they can email in, and then after this meeting, we'll take all comments received. It's taken to the SISTAC. There's criteria with which we analyze, I guess, the comments or the needs that have been vocalized, and then we determine if they're reasonable to meet or unreasonable to meet. And we'll bring back a full report in August that then gets submitted to Caltrans. I don't show any public online. I don't have anything in the chat. And I'm not seeing any public in the room. So I think we can probably close the hearing.
Keep your mic on.
I turned it off. Okay. So we'll close the public hearing and move it back to the board. Does the board have any comments or feedback on this at this time? No? Everyone good? Okay. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is number 8, presentation of the 2025 Calaveras County Regional Transportation Plan update, which is the existing conditions. And we've got a presenter today. Thank you for being here.
Thanks. Yeah, Aaron, you want to introduce it at all?
Sure. So in April 2024, the council awarded a contract to Green Dot Transportation Solutions to update our RTP, or Regional Transportation Plan. It's something that we update every 5 years. And tonight we have Jeff Schwein from Green Dot Transportation Solutions to provide a presentation of the RTP process and the existing conditions.
Great. All right. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jeff Schwein, and I live in Chico, but I hang out and play in the foothills. So I know the county pretty well. I've done some work for the COG over the past 15 or 20 years. So nice to be here, and it's nice to be working on projects in Calaveras County. I'm going to do a quick presentation just about what the Regional Transportation Plan is. You guys probably know, since some of you have been commissioners in the past, but we'll give an overview. Basically, this plan is, I'll read it so you don't have to squint your eyes. Basically, this plan is it's a long-range plan. So we go out 20 years. We look at projects for the next 20 years. Hey, what's happening? Where are we going to get the money for all these projects? We work with the local jurisdictions, the county, the city, and any tribal entities. We work with Calaveras Council of Governments and the Transit Agency to just get all of the projects that could be on a list and could be funded with transportation money at some time in the future. We want them in this plan. So that's the goal. So we also like to chat with the community members. If anyone has needs, kind of like what you just did with the unmet transit needs, we want to know about those just to make sure that we're covering all the bases, that the community at large feels like they have a good transportation network to get them to school, to work, to play, to services, to goods. We want them to have good mobility throughout the county. So how we do this is we develop a existing conditions report. We update all of the demographic information, all of the information that we get from the state, that we get from the city and the county. So this is data like collision data. This is demographic data. It's traffic counts. It's transit users. We take all that data and we put it just in one document, this regional transportation plan. So everyone who's working on transportation projects in whatever capacity they work on it, they have a source to go to, so the data is consistent throughout the county, so everyone's using the same thing. We don't want the federal government to see grant applications for funding coming to them and saying, oh, the population for the county says this in this grant application, but this other agency submitted one and it says this, and be confused. So we really want the regional transportation plan to provide a sense of consistency for the county when we're talking about transportation needs. This plan has 3 main elements that are required by the state. One is the policy element. Really, the regional transportation plan doesn't have many teeth. Maybe they're kind of worn down teeth, but we look to the general plan. So we have to be consistent with the county general plan, the city general plan, and that's how we have policies set. So the regional transportation plan, you'll find, has some policies in it, but they're not powerful policies. They're just supporting the local jurisdiction plans. The important ones here are the action element, which has all the projects in the county, and the financial element, which does a projection of available funding. So I'll just talk about those in a second. So a couple of goals for this is to maintain and improve the transportation infrastructure in the county. We want to make sure we're protecting the assets that we put in place. We spend a lot of time and energy developing projects in the county, and we want to make sure that when we put millions of dollars into paving roads, keeping them safe, improving guardrails and rumble strips so people aren't driving off the road, we want to make sure that we're protecting those assets by keeping them maintained. So this is pavement rehabilitation. It is maintenance work like crack sealing and chip sealing, things like that make the investment last longer. So that is first and foremost a primary goal of the constituents in the county. We also want to get better at what we do. So that means improving the transit system. It means improving the bikeway and the pedestrian infrastructure, not just for Americans with disabilities challenges in these rural communities, but also for mobility. There's a lot of people who don't have access to a car on a daily basis, don't have access to funding to pay their gas and insurance. So they need a way to get to work. So we need to have safe facilities for everyone in the county and good mobility. So those are goals. There's a lot of funding coming to improve the character of our transportation infrastructure. So we call it Complete Streets. You guys have probably seen projects throughout the county that help improve walking, biking, the aesthetics, the landscaping, the lighting, the safety lighting, things like that. So all of those types of projects are in this regional plan as well. So we have some statutes and some guidance that we have to follow. And so we get those from the state and the federal government. And you'll see them when we do the draft plan. You'll see which ones they are. But the important one for us is the most recent guidelines for writing regional transportation plans. We get those from the state, and we follow them because they just help keep us in line. Let's see.
You went too far.
I did? I don't think this one's not changing. Oh, okay, here we go. It started changing. Oh, I did go too far.
You want me to go back more?
Yeah, right. One more.
That's you doing it. I'm not.
Oh.
I wasn't doing that.
All right, well, we'll go with this because this is a good slide. So we do community outreach. It's not very palpable in rural communities. A lot of times people don't know what we're talking about or what we're trying to garner. So we do our best attempt at collecting community information and ideas about transportation in the region. it's not super productive. We've got 34 responses. Our survey's been open for almost a year. We did 2 community meetings. We had a couple people show up. So we do a ton of marketing, like trying to some advertising in local papers, on social media, through hanging flyers on bulletin boards around the county, but it's just not a very interesting topic to most people. That's what we've come to conclude in rural counties, which I work in all over Northern California. It's not just a Calaveras County thing. It's the other rural counties too, and that's fine. We take what we get, and the real meat of our operation here, developing an RTP, comes from the county public works directors. It comes from the transit agency and people who are developing the projects. So, but we will be doing some follow-up outreach. So once we have the draft plan in place or developed, we will be trying to get the word out that that's available online or in paper copy if you want to stop by the COG office or the county or City of Angels. And then we'll take comments on the draft report. And that's where we sometimes get some comments from members of the community. So financial and action element, I talked about those. One important thing is that the federal government in particular is asking us to prove that the investments that they're making in infrastructure through grants and other programs in Calaveras County is worth it. So we're having to do performance measures where we say, okay, we're gonna spend $2 million on this project here. How does that, what's your return on investment? How many lives did you save by improving an intersection with a roundabout as opposed to a T-bone prone intersection? And how long will it take if you had, 2 fatalities and 5 injury accidents in the past 20 years? Moving forward, once you do the improvement, you spend the millions of dollars on the infrastructure, how long will it take to recover that and then move forward with a positive gain on your investment? So performance measures are really important, and we're setting up some really nice performance measures in this regional transportation. So next steps through July, we'll be putting the projects and the financial element together, which are the final components of this plan that we have left to do, and putting them into a draft regional transportation plan, putting that out to the public for public comment. We'll be doing an environmental review of the plan itself, and we're looking to adopt this in October this year. And with that, I'll take any questions. You guys, if you want to keep up with it, you can always go to the project rep website, which is calaverasrtp.com. You can find it on the Council of Governments website as well. There's a link to the project website. Happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board members? Scott?
Yeah, at the city level, we're talking about something that has a lot for measurables. It has connectivity, circulation, mobility, character, carbon footprint, tourism, economic development, and it's golf cart access throughout the city. And we're talking about that, and we're getting kind of serious about it. We want to put it in the general plan. That all has to be discussed and approved yet. But that's something that I haven't heard talked about by anybody outside the city. And if you make that golf cart access throughout the whole city, that just ties everybody into helping people get around downtown. Support that. It allows people who maybe don't have access to cars and such to have something that's less expensive. They're all electric. I think it's a good idea and a good project. I'd like to see it incorporated as much as possible in some of these things.
Yeah, so when we are going out soliciting projects, like I'll take that comment, it'll go into our work. But also it's really important to get the city to put forth those projects too.
And we're working on that.
Okay, yeah, great. I mean, honestly, to me, I feel like all mobility is a positive for the communities. So figuring out how to do that safely is important, and there's a lot of really experienced people and project examples that we can look to get ideas from. And there's some funding.
Any other questions or comments? Gay? Hey, wait, I wasn't sure if you were messing with me.
Yeah, you're going to bring this back to us, correct?
Yeah,
In
draft form.
in draft form?
Yeah, so you would have
July,
like
at the end of July or the end of October?
end of July.
End of July.
Mhm.
So you will have these performance measures all in line for us to look
Yes,
at that time,
yep,
along with your recommendations moving forward to finish this off.
exactly.
So I'll wait till that time to see for the comments, because I'm looking at this and it's concentrating on the upper part of the county from what I see.
Because of the
And
photos.
when you bring it to us back, it's in the entire county, because to get that upper part of the county, you gotta go through the western end of the county to get there. So,
Comment received,
thank you.
you bet.
Unless you take Highway 4.
That's still the western of the county, you gotta go through Copper. So,
I was just gonna comment, kind of, I know I thought I posted this on my Facebook page. I know people have reached out to me asking when this project is coming out again, and I shared it in an email, but no one seems to be responding. So to your point, like getting the public engagement, you know, outside of us who are on this board and are actively on other boards, is there any recommendation to encourage the people to respond? I mean, because we're gonna adopt, this gonna happen every year, we're gonna adopt it, and then we're gonna get complaints that we didn't know, even though, like you said, some of us have shared it, some of us have posted it on websites, but how do we do another loop around just to make sure that we don't get complaints, or that you guys may not see it at this level, but I know I get them at the county level of why didn't we have more public comments? Well, you guys aren't responding to that. And I know you can only do so much, and I understand that. But if there's things that we could maybe brainstorm before now in July, like Gary, getting more feedback, I'm open to helping get that information out there.
I have a weird question.
Yeah.
Are there counties that you have, I don't know what the percentage is. You said you do multiple counties throughout the foothills. Is there a better county that has a better take rate, or are we within the average? I mean, if let's just say Tuolumne County, if you're working there, do they have a better rate because they're posting it somewhere, doing something different than what we're doing here? That's what I was just trying to piggyback on.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, no.
Where we get the best participation is when you bring food and beer into the mix, obviously. But, you know, kidding aside, it usually comes down to the project level. Say you're doing a community plan for a city, for the City of Angels. That's when people will come and you can walk them through the community. Hey, let's go on a walk today. We're gonna point out the challenges. We're gonna have somebody like take a wheelchair down and see if they can navigate this one area. That's where you get real participation at the project level. If you're gonna install a roundabout in a controversial area and there's some opposition, then you get a lot of people participating. I mean, I know controversy is kind of a thing that brings out people, but sometimes that has to happen. So fortunately for this plan, most of the public comment is coming through the project level. So when there's a new transit route that's being recommended to serve a rural community kind of out in the sticks or something, then that goes through the short-range transit plan. There's probably a lot of comments there, and then we get it from the short-range transit plan and put it in here. This is kind of like the library for all the projects. But as far as participation goes, I'm open to all ideas. We've done some kind of wacky things in Alpine County. We did a walk in the snow up to see where the snowmobilers were crossing the road, actually, and that was fun because we got the snowmobile club to like come out and show us what they were doing. So little tricks like that can help, but And really, you know, this presentation is preliminary, like this is just kind of an introduction to the project so nobody's surprised. But when you get the draft regional transportation plan, then you'll really have something to read through, look at, and provide some good comments on.
Maybe we get creative and, you know, get some snowmobile from Tay and bring them.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think we'll have more community input once the local jurisdictions bring their project list to the Board of Supervisors and the City Council, because that's when the community will start hearing about these projects and comment. And then I just wanted to add, Erin also uses Nextdoor for putting this information out into neighborhoods to let them know through social media.
And for our next round of outreach, we're really trying to look at existing events that are occurring in different communities that we can then show up and deliver information and get feedback there, as opposed to standalone RTP only events. So I think we have 5 that we're looking at between April and July, starting with Raging Cajun. We've reached out to them to see if we can have a table or booth space, if you will, so that we can share this information. We can point people to the website, to the online survey. We can take feedback in person. But as opposed to a standalone community meeting, which we didn't get great attendance at, we're trying to go where people already are. So
Okay. Could you get the car show down in Copper in May?
I have that on my list.
Okay.
I think it's the only one in Copper, only event that seemed like it's work. I think your 4th of July would be too crazy.
Yeah, I think
so.
that would be the better one. Cause
Okay,
people
good.
actually, but yeah, right? I mean, yeah.
And Valley Springs area.
Okay.
You guys have a car show in May, I think. But
We do.
I wondered if that would be.
That would probably be good.
They also have a farmer's market that's happening. I think that's one. There's one in the beginning of May, one in the end. I think there's a farmer's market in Valley Springs that's popping up.
That's at Vista del Lago in 26.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were looking at either of those.
That would probably be good there too. They have,
Yeah.
flea market also there.
Yeah.
At the same time.
And we'll be at the fair, of course. We were at fair last year.
Right.
Yeah.
It was really the very beginnings, but this will be there again this year. We'll have RTP information, we'll have the active transportation, trails plan information, and then of course transit information at fair, so.
Okay, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work on this.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Any other questions? Nope, or comments? Okay, I do gotta take it to the public. Any public comments or questions? I see none, and I'm assuming there's none online?
Nope.
Okay. We'll move on to the next item, which is item number 9, the minute order approving the reprogramming of CMAQ funds. I will turn it over to the executive director.
Thank you, Chair Follendorf. Staff is recommending the council approve the reprogramming of congestion mitigation and air quality control funding, which we refer to as CMAQ. The city has notified COG staff that they're not ready for construction with the funding they've programmed. So they've requested that COG staff either loan it or exchange it. But COG staff is requesting that the COG keep the funding locally and have the Council of Governments nominate a project. And staff is identified a project that would cover environmental and design to address the Mountain Ranch Road intersection through to Buckskin Road. This segment was identified in 2 plans, the San Andreas SR 49 Gateway Corridor Study and the Evacuation Access Needs and Assessment Plan. So I think some of you are familiar, there is a SHOP project that Caltrans is doing through Main Street here on 49. And it is complete streets and pedestrian and medians. Bus stops. And so it would end right at Mountain Ranch Road. So I'm recommending we do environmental and design from Mountain Ranch Road, address the intersection, and look at improvements through to Buckskin Road. If you want to take a look, I have a graph on page 104. It has proposed funding, and then it has the current programming. The bottom chart is the current funding. So this would be 2 fiscal years. They're requesting the 24-25 and 25-26 be reprogrammed. This totals approximately $907,000. The TAC supported this item, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions from board members on this? I have a question.
Sure.
And I'm not trying, maybe it's for Alvin and Scott. This is the second, fourth time.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is the fourth time.
Yeah.
This has happened.
Yeah.
What is the plan for the next time? And I know you guys can't answer that, but maybe, we can all think about it. So just maybe ponder it over the next, for a while, because I know both jurisdictions are going through a lot of changes. People are trying to catch up. Do we look at projects again? For both, I'm getting worried that because we keep doing this, at some point, it's gonna trigger something.
Okay.
And so I just want the board to ponder, I guess the jurisdiction to ponder what we wanna do in the future.
We
Because
need to
some of us
spend the money
might,
as we can.
yeah.
Maybe our next meeting, we can have the mayor and the new mayor give us a presentation on what the
I think that's why staff brought a different solution. In the past, we have loaned out the money to MTC and SACOG. So this was an effort to keep the funding local. And we've got to remember that on CMAQ funding, to be eligible, you have to have a project study report. And there are currently only 2 project study reports in the county. One in the city and one in Calaveras County. And this project study is the project study that Caltrans is using for this main street. So that's why I thought it was a perfect solution. The PSR at the city is on Foundry, and it's not ready yet, or we would have tried to use the funding in your own jurisdiction.
And that's true. We used it for the Valley Spring School
Yep.
last time.
Yep.
And I think, we've discussed it at TAC, been encouraging for the last couple years now for both jurisdictions to get other projects in the queue, because we're also finding that, if something happens, we're not able to pivot as fast as we can. We got lucky on the last round with the Valley Springs. But, for us, even the county, we don't have another project outside of what's currently there. And so I think we all need to be thinking proactively to get other stuff lined up. Because even if we do use this funding now, when the next round of funding comes out, or let me rephrase that, if we complete these projects, we have, in the next couple rounds of funding, we have nothing else lined up locally to present to this board here to have money. And so we are all gonna lose out on that. And so I want to say it again, I think we need to really work on being proactive at our local jurisdictions. Otherwise, maybe it's a conversation in the future that with the workload currently going on and things that are happening in each location, maybe the COG board need to reconsider, and maybe we need to look into completing some projects. And that's where the pondering starts looking, and is that something when we go through our goal setting with our own staff, do we want to start completing projects, so we don't lose out on those regional funds?
I will say this to that. on our next meeting next Tuesday. Public Works supposed to bring a capital improvements project to us, and there may be some 2 meetings, well, it's coming, so there could be something in that project that would meet our, but we've been very good in accommodating this. We have history, we gave money to San Joaquin, or traded money to San Joaquin County before because we couldn't do it. So we've been doing very well, and I appreciate COG staff and what's going on in Public Works. So I would look forward to the capital improvements projects coming to see if any of them meet the criteria for the CMAQ money. In the meantime, we do have 2 projects that are there that we can utilize that money. And hopefully the city can get their project together between now and then to utilize those funds. But I really would look forward to maybe something in mind that's presented from Public Works in 2 weeks or 2 meetings from now for the capital improvements.
And I know that staff knows this, but since we have us as board members, I just want to make sure we're holding ourselves accountable to ensure that we're being forward-thinking and, and if not, then what's the other alternative? That this board start looking and working with staff to those things if we're struggling,
Yeah, and giving it to San Joaquin County, which they gave back to us, but it doesn't look good when it comes to distributing those funds from Caltrans. So.
And all I'll say is that we have a study session coming up where we're going to go over strategic goals and stuff like that. And I will put this in of that, we need to get some sort of projects that are CMAQ available if that funding comes available, because I don't want to lose that money either.
Yeah.
So, but we do have a strategic plan set up to go over long-term goals and different things. So I'll throw that in there too. So that way we keep it going.
Yeah, so I think both the CIP and the strategic planning that the city is looking at is setting up projects for the next call for projects.
Right.
So for this one, I'm requesting, because we would need to obligate this by September of this year.
Let's do it.
correct. And that's what it's for the next round.
Okay.
Right, you're next round,
Okay.
but again, our CIP projects.
Yep,
Yeah.
And we only have 2, right? Is what you just said, right? We only have the one in Angels and this one.
yes,
So then we're down to 1 if we check this one off. And so.
yep.
Okay.
Unless the county choose to do something else along this.
Right, in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
Yes.
project study.
That's all. Okay.
I just want to make sure we're having the proactive conversation so no one's left, why don't we have this? Why don't we talk about this? Why weren't we aware of it?
And I think this leads into a bigger discussion where we need to discuss federal funding and what might be happening. I know with CMAQ, there's a reauthorization going on. So I'm working with Caltrans to get our current balances. So you can see in the proposed funding, I've already earmarked funding back to the city's project. And so we've only programmed 4 years, so I'm waiting to get the balances so that we can look at making the project whole. And I'll bring that discussion back as soon
Thank
as
you.
I know those.
Okay. Anything else on that? Okay. So we do have to approve this. Let me do public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. If there's no other board comments or discussions, is there a motion to approve this minute order?
I'll make a motion to approve the minute order for reprogramming the CMAQ.
Moved by Alvin, second by Tim. All in favor? Aye. 601. Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item, which is number 10, the minute order approving the middle of a letter requesting program changes to the Calaveras County Final 2024 RTIP. I will move it to the executive director.
Thank you, Chair Fallendorf. Staff is requesting the council approve reprogramming of the State Transportation Improvement Program, or as we refer to it as the STIP. This council approved the RTIP in December of 23, and we programmed our allocation on the Wagon Trail project of Phase 2. So since then, this council, in an effort to assist the county, they needed to utilize RIM funding, and RIM funding was the match on the TSEP of Phase 2 right-of-way. So I brought forward programming for RSTP dollars. So we backfilled that 2.2 million. So what I'm requesting we do, and you can look on page 108, is I'm requesting that we move the $1,042,000 that we currently have on Phase 2 construction, and we move it to right-of-way, and that will free up $1,042,000 of our RSTP funding. We've worked with the TAC, and they support this item. So I'm asking the council if I could submit this request to Caltrans headquarters. It would go to CTC. It would be at the May meeting because they have to post it for public comment, and then would be approved at the June meeting. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Gary? Okay,
I have no questions.
okay. Anyone else have any questions?
I'll ask a question because I'm the new guy and I can get away with it maybe. When I look at the eastern segment, the total estimated cost for remaining unfunded phases of this is $55 million. And we're talking about $1,042,000.
Yep.
Where's the other 53 million?
So we don't know. So what our goal was to get design and right-of-way funded, and then we were going to go forward with grant funding. We just missed the grant cycle because we're dealing with issues on construction of Phase 1. So we're working, and by we, I mean COG staff is working with the Public Works Department. We're hoping to have that wrapped up, but I want to start moving this money before the new fiscal year, and we're coming up into a new RTIP cycle. So I should be getting our allocation in June or July. So I'll bring forward our new allocation. But the allocation for the year that we did this in 23, because you do it every odd year, our allocation was 1.1 million. So I parked it on construction. It was like a placeholder. I could have kept it in our bank and not programmed it on a phase, but I parked it on construction. So I'm requesting to move it from construction to right-of-way.
Yeah, any other questions from the board? No? Okay. Public comment? And any online? Okay, we'll move it back to the board. Is there a motion to approve the minute order for this item?
So moved.
Moved by Alvin, a
Second.
second by Tim, all in favor?
Aye.
601, and yeah, 601. Okay. We'll move on to item 11, which is council reports. I will start with Tim.
I have nothing to report.
Okay, Scott?
Nothing to report.
Okay, Pat?
Nothing to report.
Yay,
Nothing to report.
Alvin?
I will say this, well, DAC and ACPA put on a State of the City a week and a half ago, which the mayor kind of emceed and led, and Mike Shimeni did a good job, and he then introduced the new city administrator, Pam, and she's getting her feet wet, but she did a nice little presentation, and then he spoke for a minute longer, and then Habitat for Humanity stepped in and explained their project that's coming through with all the housing. And then after that, Mike got up and kind of spoke again, and then Matt came through and spoke and said what they're doing and their plans for Angels Camp 2. So I thought it was very informational, and there was, I don't know, 100 plus people there, and I think it was a really good turnout, and I hope they continue doing it year after year. And past that, I mentioned Pam, the new city administrator, and she's getting her feet wet, and I think you've met. Oh, that's right, she gave a report, so that's all I got.
Okay, I have nothing to report, so I'll move it over to staff. The staff reports.
Nothing to report.
Nothing, okay. And
Nothing to report.
Okay. We'll move on to adjournment, and we will meet here in May at 5:30.